So good morning. I'm with the Port Moody Arts and Culture Committee, and this morning we are speaking with Dana G. With Post Media, who's been a film critic for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
How long?
Well, I don't specifically do film criticism anymore, but I was almost 20 years for global television. I did that, yeah.
And that's where I best remember you.
Yes.
And enjoyed your segments in the morning, because I felt it was fresh honesty, really, when it came to film and that kind of media. Where did you get started with that?
I've been in journalism for 30 years. I started at the Vancouver Province as a sports reporter, did a handful of years of that, then moved on to general features and a bunch of other different sort of columns and things in between. But I guess I started doing television film. What happened was our company was bought by the Asper family that owned Global. And so they did this thing called Convergence. They asked me if I would come on and talk about Survivor, the morning after, because we were still, remember this a long time ago, we're still in the land. People didn't have the immediacy of the internet like we do now. So I just started, added movies and started going to movie screenings with the other nerdlingers, I like to call them, happily like to call them, don't take offense, because we'd all sit in a movie theater together in the dark in the mornings and watch stuff. So it just sort of went from there. And I did it up until the pandemic. But I write a lot about film for the Sun and the Province, because I covered the Hollywood North to the extent we can cover it now because we're short staffed. But so I write a lot about features on movies that are made here, television shows, talk to directors, talent, all that sort of stuff. So
how many movies have you watched in the last year, for example?
Oh,
absolutely.
When I was still working for Global, I would screen probably anywhere between 3 to 6 movies a week, usually around 5 movies a week in theaters. Like everybody else, I've been streaming all over the place and limited series. I'm just trying to think, what was the last movie I watched, I will tell you that, is a movie called Brian and Charles, weird little English independent film where the guy builds his own robot. Anyways, those are the kind of movies I like. I think I'm rambling now, though, aren't I? Have we officially moved into ramble land?
You have a lot of information to give, and you have people like you in the industry that get to see things that, like, maybe I'm not going to see. You can highlight some really interesting stuff that normally I probably wouldn't, click on in the Netflix browsing.
About that. But like I said, the movie I just told you about right now, Brian and Charles, it's like one of those perfect little tiny, lovely movies where you just go, where you don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting, but you can also invest in it. So yeah, back to that point, I think that's a big part of my job. I think it's a big part of journalism and arts journalism, is to turn people onto things that they might not necessarily come across their radar, because we are so inundated with these large screaming yelly things now. It's kind of nice to have somebody say, look over there. But officially, like the 48-hour film festivals, and yours is 72, experience wise, I've written some features leading up to it and stuff. I certainly understand how it works. And I understand that it's crazy making if you agree to do one of those, I would think. But, I think it's all part and parcel of probably becoming an adept filmmaker, is, being able to move quickly. And, and the film industry has been through COVID has proved over and over again that they are those people, right? How nimble they were with COVID, with testing, with being able to move things, restart things. So it kind of makes sense that you can make a filmmaker move fast.
When it comes back to the stories, short or long,
Right.
What kind of stories really resonate with you?
So I like those smaller films. I like, like a film like I'm going to go back a bit, but the film like The Full Monty, perfect movie, absolutely perfect movie. So things like that, I want to have those connections. I want to have those connections with characters. I want to have villains too. I want to cheer for the bad guy, under my breath, but I tend to lean towards those smaller story movies, and I always come back to just tell me a good story. It's funny, as someone that writes for the Province newspaper and that was my main job until the two newspapers combined, people kind of forget that shorters actually can often be a lot harder. like writing, and I'm using the analogy for us in like writing tabloid length, it can be a lot harder to get your point across in a short amount of time. So I appreciate short films big time. And short films are also the grounds for the next step. And lots of short films have been turned into features over the years. So I'm looking forward to seeing these films because, and you're absolutely right, whoever coined that, it's like a great joke, is bang on, because it is the setup and the punch for sure. So the payoff.
Yeah.
And that's, if you've done it right, those two things are definitely in there.
What other things do you think you might be looking for when these shorts come across your desk?
Yeah, well, story. Again, it's always about story for me because I'm a writer. So it's always about story. I don't want to see a car chase unless it has something to do with the movie. We saw The French Connection. I'm good. But you know what I mean? Like there's such like gratuitous stuff just to show me that you can do it or have access to the I don't know, the software even now, because you were mentioning we can edit anywhere, that you can just do that means nothing to me. If it doesn't advance story or doesn't enhance story, I'm just not interested in it. I'm just not. I appreciate it if it makes sense, right? But right. I just want to again tell me a good story.
Because we're in Port Moody, what do you think? Port Moody, how could it be showcased? Do you think?
Oh well, natural surroundings, right? I mean, here we're living in BC, and Hollywood North is through the roof. And I just screened a limited series that's coming out on Netflix. That's supposed to be in the Canadian North, but it's all house sound, and it it's such a cliche to say, but the background can become a character. They always say that about New York City in movies, especially. Well, I think Port Moody could be a classic example. I mean, but I think the natural environment is always what does really well around here, because it's so unique and lush and full of possibility. The colors that we have, like the physical colors we have around here, is walking through Emily Carr or something, right?
All right. So other than story, what else would jump out at you that a team could pull together in 72 hours that would be impressive?
Wow, I don't know. Like, what else could they pull together? Well, different locations would be impressive, right? I mean, because physically just moving around, right? You got to move a few people around. So I think something like that. I mean, if you can blow off some great effects and something like that. Again, though, it has to be part of the story. So I don't know if I can narrow it down to one thing. I think it's just the package tells you, right? It tells you if someone knows what they're doing.
Right.
You can forgive a few things maybe, but I'd have to see it in context. But I think the package tells you if that, because there's just leading up to making something for 72 hours. There's so much work done ahead of time, just thinking about it, right? Like,
fantastic. What other advice do you think you might have for these budding? Some of these people might be first time ever doing a film, or maybe they have a few under their belts. What do you think is some good advice?
Well, look at what you like. Look at what turns you on. What other films are out there? I mean, there's nothing wrong with looking at other people's work and being inspired by it. There's nothing wrong with that. You can see how people do stuff. You can see how, I don't know, Clint Eastwood does a huge panning shot. Like, mind you, now everything's drones. See, that's the other thing these people have now that, is made life so much easier in filmmaking, is the drone world. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of seeing what other people are doing, or other people that do it well in your mind, or, I mean, it's hard to be completely unique, I think, in our world these days. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm a fan of that. Look around, see what other stuff's out there. Maybe if you've got a favorite, larger, bigger, already a superstar filmmaker in mind, go and see if they've got shorts in their history. Odds are, just hit up IMDb and scroll all the way to the bottom, and odds are there's a couple shorts in there. So that might be helpful as well. Absolutely.
Well, I think you covered it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And